Here, are there any questions? I've got an answer to the question.
This sounds like is this just a bill in Congress that is trying to clear up or take care of an unintended consequence? And, and if so, have you heard of any opposition whatsoever in Washington to this bill?
Well, I mean, the Supreme Court last year, opened up the sort of greenhouse gas issue in some litigation. That then gave rise to a line of bureaucratic decision-making, which even as of last Friday, the EPA has introduced yet another proposal that suggests they're serious about pursuing this tax on cows and pigs. So we don't believe we believe the threat is real. We believe it, but for Senate Bill 527. In fact, when we introduced this concept, had this drafted, when Bob and I did that, 527 hadn't been on the books yet. And that's why, if you look at our resolution, it first urges the EPA not to implement the new regulations because they were well on their way discussing the introduction of the regulations. I believe it was their activity that gave the incentive to Senators Thune and Schumer to actually introduce Senate Bill 527 because it is a serious threat that the EPA was going to put a tax on cows and pigs ostensibly under the Clean Air Act. So we believe it's a real threat, and left to their own demise, the EPA would go forward with this, and that's why we applaud the good senators in Washington for getting this one right, and we want to get on the record of supporting it so that while the public is worried about a lot of other issues today and may not be focusing on this one, when they start paying more for all their food, at least all their protein-based foods because of this, we wanted to make sure we want a record of telling what the EPA not to do and applauding Congress to address the issue.
It's my understanding under Title V of the Clean Air Act, that was the intent of that legislation, like we said, to address smokestack industries and pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. And without 527, it leaves the door open for the EPA to move into this area. And I think I can 99% rest assured that our members of Congress, when they passed that, there wasn't the intent to go after livestock emissions from livestock. That's just.
So this was never aimed at the large manufacturing, the large farms.
Pardon?
This wasn't
there's no
really meant.
Okay. There's no distinction between the small mom and pop producer and the large, they sometimes refer to as a factory farm. But I mean, there's no distinction. If you go to Senator Thune's website, and Lynn can give you that thing, that website, he has done a fantastic job on a weekly basis of keeping information on this very current. And so if you want to see what's happened as of up to last Friday and what the EPA was up to last week, that's where we've been tracking it. And we talked to his office yesterday. If you want to get some background, they have some fascinating information that this is not just a theoretical possibility, but a probability unless they can get this legislation to disrupt the bureaucrats and where they're heading.
And he's a senator from South Dakota, and he estimates the cost of South Dakota to be almost $370 million to live cattle producers out there. And the state like South Dakota, $370 million, that's a huge hit. Their economy's not that long.
Of course, in South Dakota, there are more cows than there are people. So this is a serious tax, even more serious tax there, but it's a serious tax here. And then, again, it's unnecessary, and it's absurd, and it's silly. But, lately, silly and absurd things have been coming out of Washington on a daily basis, so we want to get on record of saying at least don't hurt our agricultural industry and don't punish our consumers when it's not necessary. And we have come a long way, including when I started bicycling at San Ignatius, I used to come out to my car every afternoon and take a film of sulfur off my car. It smelled like rotten eggs when you walked out of the school building because of the steel mills. You no longer have to worry about that. There is no sulfur on the cars, there's no steel mills. There are no jobs, unfortunately, to go with that. But we've come a long way, even despite that, in the industries that do have smokestack emissions, to try to deal with the air and clean themselves 1,000 times better than it was when I graduated from high school in 1971. But I mean, at some point, you can try to make the earth cleaner than God. And when we started saying that we're going to tax cows and pigs, we're starting to get off the reservation.